"Daddy, why is that girl digging in the trash?" The little boy's question pierced the night air like a blade. Snowflakes drifted under the yellow glow of street lamps, dusting the quiet row of houses. It was Christmas Eve, and while most homes shimmered with lights and laughter, one child stood shivering by a green bin. Her torn sweater riddled with patches, her face was streaked with tears as she dug through scraps, searching desperately. Before we move further into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear. Let's dive in. From the sidewalk, a single dad and his young son stopped in their tracks. The man's brow furrowed, his breath fogging in the frosty air. He tightened his coat against the cold, his eyes locked on the trembling girl. The child by the trash whispered through sobs, "Please, there has to be something." Her little hands trembled as she pulled out a crust of bread, too frozen to chew. She held it close like treasure, even as the bitter wind whipped her hair across her face. The father's chest ached. He had known struggle himself. Raising his son alone, every paycheck stretched thin, every bill a mountain. He remembered nights of ramen noodles, of telling his boy stories to distract him from hunger. But never, never had his son searched garbage on Christmas Eve. He stepped closer. "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" The girl spun around, fear flashing in her wide eyes. She shook her head violently, clutching the bread to her chest. I don't have any, not anymore." Her voice cracked like glass. The father froze. His son tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy, we can't just leave her." The girl's story came in broken pieces, carried on shaky breaths. Her mother had passed the year before. Her father, crushed by grief and addiction, had vanished weeks ago, leaving her to fend for herself. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. On Christmas Eve, with nowhere to turn, she had gone searching for scraps. The father's throat tightened. He saw not just a stranger's child, but the reflection of what his own son could have become if life had been crueler. He glanced down at his boy, who now stared at the girl with wide, sorrowful eyes. The father knelt down, gently holding out his gloved hand. "Come with us. You don't have to do this alone tonight." The girl hesitated, torn between fear and hope. She studied his face, the warmth in his voice, the steady kindness in his son's eyes. Finally, with trembling fingers, she placed the crust of bread back into the bin and slipped her small hand into his. Minutes later, the warmth of their modest home wrapped around her like a blanket. A tree twinkled faintly in the corner, decorated with paper stars his son had cut out weeks before. On the table sat a humble feast, roast chicken, potatoes, and cookies cooling on a tray. It wasn't much, but to the girl it was more than she had dreamed. The boy tugged her toward the table. "You can sit next to me," he said eagerly, sliding out a chair. The father set a plate before her, heaping it with food. The girl stared, tears brimming in her eyes. I can't, I don't deserve this." He crouched beside her, his voice soft but firm. "You deserve to eat. You deserve to be warm. You deserve to be safe. And tonight, your family." As she took her first bite, sobs shook her shoulders, not of sadness but of relief. She had been invisible to the world, until now. The boy beamed. "Daddy, can she stay, just for tonight?" The father looked at the girl, then at his son, then back at her hollow eyes, slowly filling with light. He nodded. "For tonight. And for as many nights as she needs." The truth stunned him as much as it moved him. This Christmas wasn't about what he could give his son under the tree. It was about the lesson they had just lived, that the greatest gift was compassion. The girl slept that night under a warm blanket on their couch, the glow of the Christmas lights reflecting across her peaceful face. For the first time in months, she felt safe. For the first time in months, she wasn't alone. The father stood in the doorway, watching over the two children, his son curled up in his bed, and the girl who had wandered into their lives like a forgotten angel. He whispered into the silence, "Thank you for showing me what Christmas really means." The moral was clear. The richest gifts are not wrapped in paper or tied with bows. They are found in kindness, in courage, and in the simple act of opening one's heart to a stranger. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know how you feel in the comments.